Is Jamaica losing its edge? Is Jamaica losing its international sport appeal? Why did we fail to bring our A game to Paris? Let's look at it. Hello everyone, Karen Cecilia here. I'm taking a chance here and doing a little analysis with the Paris Olympics and how Jamaica showed up or maybe did not show up. So I want you to listen to the whole thing to the end. All right? So, hello, Karen Cecilia here. It's a good day. It is a good day. It's a great day. I mean, every day that you wake up is a great day. I'm encouraging you to listen to and watch this video to the end, and encouraging you to like it and make a comment. I would like to hear what you think. Really think on this one. I want to hear from everyone that listen. I want to hear what you think about this. All right. So remember to give it a thumbs up, put in a comment, and share it. All right. The Olympics in Paris were always going to be flat. It was heading towards that direction from the moment it was announced. And at best, it was just going to be mediocre. The onus on increasing visibility and bringing excitement to the games is primarily on the host country because of all the economic benefits that the games bring to the host country. Assuming, of course, that the host country actually cares about the economic benefits that the games would bring. And I say that deliberately because I am saying that the French really does not care. Unfortunately, the French don't feel or behave the way that most countries that are dying to host the Olympics or would move heaven and earth to host the Olympics. The French don't feel that way. Matter of fact, they have never felt or behaved that way. I knew that it was going to flop, not only because of the low energy campaign leading up to the Olympics itself, or the lack of the international enthusiasm surrounding it. I knew that it was going to fall flat. But because that enthusiasm that it should have gotten is eclipsed by so many other things happening around the world. And believe me when I tell you that the average French citizen is very in tune and interested in what happens in the world. The wars in Ukraine and the Middle East garner the most consistent interest for the French residents. 67% of them, according to the French newspaper Le Monde, takes very serious interest in what's going on in the Middle East and what's happening over in Europe. France has hosted 5 Olympics, plus this one. It includes some Winter Olympics, which is usually have a little bit more excitement than the Summer Olympics for the French, at least. Not that they have much interest in any of the Olympics games. The only one of the Olympics that they have hosted that was exciting, and that is based on what excitement or exciting was at that time, and that was the first one in 1900. That's the first Olympics that France hosted. The preparation for this year's Olympics was not a big event. It was not a big event for France, say like the Atlanta Olympics or the one in Sao Paulo. The French already have the structures that they needed to secure that bid to host the 2024 Olympics. The only thing that was missing, and they went all out to do it, to ensure that to enhance their bid to host the Olympics, was the cleaning up of the River Seine to enhance that bid. And that cleanup started in 2016 and cost $1.4 billion to clean up. Now, I should say, based on the research that I've done, that the French have been trying to clean up the River Seine from Jacques Chirac was president. And we know how long ago that was for those of us in our age group, that they have been trying to clean up the River Seine. And they started that in earnest in 2016. It cost them 1.4 billion euros. And it finished just in time to host this glamorous opening ceremony that they had with all the teams and boats. It was really a glamorous event. But after that glamorous event, everything went downhill from there on. The French didn't need much preparation, as I said, because they have had the structures for a while, because they have hosted it before. And the French maintain their structures. They maintain their structures, they maintain their monuments, their historical sites. They are big on the preservation of history and objects relating to that history, art, historical buildings and sites, the maintaining, the refurbishing, and the modernizing. Matter of fact, a sizable chunk of the country's budget is spent on that, apart from private funds that is used to maintain some things, that the French cares about. And when I tell you that nobody can couple style and glitz with simplicity like the French, I want you to believe me. Nobody can. Nobody, except that they take it to an all new level, if it interests them, that is. The French are a strange kind of people, but then again, I suppose that some people would look at Jamaica and say, we're a strange kind of people as well. It depends on what you're looking at in terms of the culture and the behavior of different kind of people. I use the word strange because an average French person does not handle a compliment very well. They play down compliment. And why do the French play down compliments? Because they are not egotistical. They are not easily impressed with outside influences. And they are not easily impressed at all about most things. And that is what makes them less egotistical than many other countries. Which could explain why the Olympics is really not their thing. So believe it or not, hosting the Olympics is a purely political venture by the International Olympic Committee and the countries who bids to host these games. And we are going to look at why Jamaica failed and why the French don't care. And that's what we're looking at. So just go with me. Go with it, all right? Take the walk with me, because it's a lesson. It's just an argument I'm putting forward, and you can learn from it. The Olympics have never been the French thing. Never. Their main interest in sports are football on a very big level. But after football, the French only have interest in things like fencing and cycling and a sport that they call handball. Now, that is a sport with a team, with 2 teams of 7 players each, 6 out-court players and a goalkeeper. Then they pass the ball using their hands with the aim of throwing the ball into the goal of the opposing team goal. And so that sport is really football with your hands and 4 less players. They call it handball. It's a big sport in France. Big. It's also big in Germany and Sweden and the Netherlands. I mean, France has won the European Cup several times in handball, but so has the other teams. But that is their biggest interest in sports. And let me repeat that for you. They basically have no interest in track and field. They basically have no interest in gymnastics, even though they have a team for almost every sport that the Olympics has, which is a strange thing. But the main thing that the French are interested in is fencing, football, cycling, and this handball thing, which is really football with your hands and 4 less players. The French cherish simple but luxurious lifestyle. They relish the history of their existence and the art that helped to shape that existence. Some of the greatest 19th century, early 20th century artists are French, like Hanal and Chagall, Cézanne, Matisse, Monet, and Rodin. Those are great, were great French artists, and they work hard. The French work hard, but they also know when to quit, and they cherish their time to do fun things. And basically, because of the nature of how the French are and how they operate as a people and as a culture, the Olympics, they could just walk past the Olympic Village without getting excited. Not at all. Those things don't excite them. So let us look at how Jamaica, I don't know how to put it. I love my country with all my heart. And I want us always to succeed. And yeah, I also want us to dominate in the fields that we are used to dominate in. But let's face it, Jamaica was ill prepared. Jamaica was slow out of the gate, and Jamaica seemed somewhat disorganized. The lack of enthusiasm was also evident from Jamaica. And I think that is because the bench was not attracting the attention that we usually get. The Jamaican track and field bench was not attracting the international attention that we normally get. So therefore, when you skirt through the international press, there's not much talking about what the world should fear of Jamaica. And that is a strange thing for us. When you're going into Olympics, everybody talking about what the world should be fear of us. But that could also be as a result of very few return big names to the Olympics, say for the exception of Shelly Ann, and the failure of our future big names to make an impact going into the Olympics. And the future big names like the Clayton sisters and all the others who fail to generate the talk, because there has to be a talk going into it. There has to be some kind of enthusiasm that would help to boost the team going in. So that could also be part of the problem, where few big names were returning, and some of those big names that were returning seem on the downhill, and then there's a failure of the future big names to make the impact going in. Remember, the world gets their excitement for the Olympics from Jamaica. For those of you who didn't know it, the world gets their excitement for the Olympics from Jamaica. Apart from the countries that are interested in shooting and swimming and fencing and cycling and volleyball and all the rest of it, the world centers its attention on the Jamaican athletes going into Olympics. And that is not only because of Usain Bolt and Shelly Ann and the others. That is also because we had Donald Quarry and Herb McKinley and all those people. So it's a thing. The world feed and thrive on that. And it was not there. So the world turned their attention to looking at the impending battle between the uninspired Jamaican bench and the hungry, revenge-seeking American bench. And that's where the world's attention was centered. What are the Americans going to do, if anything, to stop the Jamaicans? And are the Jamaicans up to holding on to their shiny top spot as the world's premier athletes in track and field? And that was what the world was centered on, that small portion of what the Olympics should be. Meanwhile, our Caribbean neighbors, who have been working their butts off to try to compete with their humility and hard work, and they reap some rewards. In the past, however, our Caribbean neighbors were more supportive of Jamaica. They aligned themselves to Jamaica, and they enjoy the spotlight of Jamaica because some of Jamaica's shine rubs off on them. So they used to be proud to be from the Caribbean, for somebody to recognize that them come from Trinidad or them come from Barbados, and yes, them near to Jamaica, so them and Jamaica basically are neighbors. So they used to be proud to be that, even though the accolades are usually on Jamaica. I hate to tell you all of this, but they don't feel that way anymore. Jamaica has gotten somewhat arrogant, and I believe our neighbors felt that, and so they went with a single determination to prove themselves. And there's nothing more inspiring than an underdog who are anxious to prove themselves and then do it. Nothing is more inspiring than that. And that is what that we're taught to. So most importantly, however, like all competitors, our Caribbean neighbors are also smelling blood. Yes, they are. They are clearly observing the weaknesses on the Jamaican bench, the weaknesses in the Jamaican organization, sport and fraternity organization, in terms of how we are dealing with handing over, passing the baton, so to speak. So both gone, some other people gone, Shelley on her way out, and the new bench, the future bench, not inspiring anyone. And so our neighbors kind of smell blood. So they are clearly observing that, our weaknesses, and they have decided that they are not going to stay in the shadows anymore. No, they are not. So guess what? It's no war. The Jamaican bench, though talented, was never going to dominate in its usual fashion. Never. As I said, it had to have started from before the trials, and that excitement should have been built up from the trials. And maybe I didn't pay much attention to the trials, but maybe that was not inspiring. Maybe the international community saw that as well. Maybe our neighbors saw that as well. And though they are talented, they were never going to dominate in the usual fashion. And that was clear. Because in sports and sometimes in politics and some other things, it is who want it the most that's going to get it. It's who hungry that's going to get it. Yeah? And other Caribbean nations have spent decades in Jamaica's shadow and was hungry to break out. They have been preparing for this for a while Jamaica was being unprepared for that kind of hunger and anger that was destined to come our way. It was as if our preparation or lack thereof of preparation was based solely on our invincibility as a powerhouse of track and field. It's as if nobody ever thought and looked at the other competitors and sized them up with us, because we keep concentrating on our greatness and our goodness, and that is what leads us to this slow downturn, which I hope can be stopped. I don't know, but when something like this start happen, it's going to seep into the psyche of the current bench that is supposed to be the future queens and kings that's supposed to bring us the glory. Them going to lose heart too, because this thing needs a whole heap of motivation all the time, coupled with the determination of the younger bench that we now have, and what they intend to do or should be doing in the future. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? There is hunger on all the other teams, and there is anger in the Americans, them trying to one up with, and them come for one up with. The Americans, them come with vengeance. Them hungry and them angry. So the only thing that the world was actually looking forward to was Shelly and where the young lady in America name coming and give her no props. And I have nothing against American athletes. I don't. But I am, rooting for my country. What's her name? Shakari, yes. Shakari. Our girl is Sharika. Shakari is the American girl who is hungry and angry because we have embarrassed her so many times. So they have been preparing for us while we were preparing for them. And that is why, so the world could easily blame Jamaica and says Jamaica made the Olympics fall flat. They could. And then all the other little things and shenanigans that took place down there. You must understand that while the French have no interest in the Olympic Games, the French people and the French people who they hire to do these things, there is always still a little tinge of racism and a little tinge of jealousy when it comes to Jamaica. Yeah. And they will go after the US as well. The French, they will do it. Maybe no other European country will do it more than the French. Show disdain and dissatisfaction with both the US and the Jamaican team. Not that I think that the French are racist. I don't think they are. But you can't escape some of those things. But those were not the only things that sent the 2024 Summer Olympics into the backwater of memory. I mean, nobody will remember this crap. But this year's Olympic is also overshadowed by international and political events. France has been in a political turmoil from last year. Demonstration and protests all over the world. They want to kill Mr. Macron. They want to string him up. They want to burn down the place. All kind of things. As a matter of fact, they did attempt to burn down the place. Protests on several issues. And some of it led to a rise in anti-immigrant sentiments in France, which we could say is coupled with the United Kingdom, is one of the least countries to say don't send no immigrant here. The French has never been like that, because the French know God, they fought the resistance in World War II. It was them, and it was de Gaulle leading them, and they fought. So they're not like that. They have history like us. But all of those turmoil from last year directed at Mr. Macron led to some rise in anti-immigrant sentiments. There is some data to show that. It's not high, but there is. It was sheer political luck that saved Macron from certain political death. He must have some kind of guardian angels protecting him. I come to that conclusion, because the far-right fascist leader down there, her name Marine Le Pen, and she was coming for him. She was going to cut him throat, and I mean that in a what you call it? It's rhetorical. It's not, yeah, it's rhetorical. But it was a conglomerate of small left-wing political parties and organizations that saved Emmanuel Macron. A conglomerate of them that participated in the election, and some whole of them, whoop of them won some seats, and they joined with him, and that is what saved poor little short Macron. I hope him survive the next one. But that was not the only thing. That is not the only thing that also threw the games into the backwaters of memory, and people can't seem to concentrate on it because there are so many other things to look at. And as I said before, and let me reiterate, the French have a high interest in international events. So apart from that, then there's a new girl in town that is sucking up all the energy internationally and causing gasp everywhere she goes. Nah, it's not the Mona Lisa. It's the Mona Lisa's distant cousin, Kamala. She's sucking up some of that energy that makes the world can't seem to concentrate that there is actually an Olympic. And there's an Olympic every time there's going to be a U.S. election. There's every time there's an Olympics, there's a U.S. election. Yeah, there is. But there is that, and there are the international things that's happening. There is the whole idea that the French are not interested in it, and they actually just brush it past. The sheer excitement from the Olympics usually comes from the host countries. But even so, travels to the Olympics was always very high. People travel from far to go to the Olympics for whatever reason, for whatever sport that interests them. There used to be a high travel rate for the football fans. So Europe would turn up in big numbers because they clearly have more interest in who can win a medal at the Olympics. So there usually be a high travel. But this year was very, very low. I mean, very, very low. It plummeted. And when CNBC used the word plummet without giving us a number, they're not really give us a number yet, but I'm sure they're going to. But according to CNBC, travel plummeted to go to the interest. No interest. Not even Parisians have an interest in the Olympics. So it's in Paris proper, and not outside of the other provinces, and not in the countryside where everybody out there enjoying them summer holidays and being in the sun and gone down to the French Riviera. Not even Parisians who live in Paris and hanging out in Paris have no interest in the Olympics. No interest at all. the 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 stadiums are not overflowing with people and excitement. The French, which most of this video is dedicated to, even though Jamaica, the French current interests are intellectually stimulating conversations around world politics. That's what it. They sit down at their cafe and they drink tea and they drink wine and they read the newspapers. I mean, the Parisians are readers of newspapers more than any other city in the world. Most people read online. The Parisians still read newspapers. Yeah? Conversations which they have with ease and relaxation because they do it with wine and baguette and whatever meat and cheese and fruits and more wine. You know, the French are actually operating around the Olympics. And that is one of the reasons why the Olympics not getting the traction that it's supposed to get, because it is the host country that is supposed to generate that traction. The French are not going to like either a whole ton of people just turning up at their favorite cafe, their favorite restaurant. They're not going to like that, which is why most of them are going to go out of the city and leave the city practically bare and let the Olympics run its course, because they are far removed from the event that is supposed to be a spectacle, if not anything else. But then the French also don't like spectacles. You see, I want to understand these things, you know. I want to understand these things. That's why I want you to listen to the end. It's not a spectacle, and they are far removed from the event, even though it's supposed to be a spectacle, if not anything else. The French fought for their workers' right. I mean, I don't know no other European countries that fought for workers' rights like the French. And that right that they have shaped their daily customs of has shaped the daily customs of the French citizens, which are centered around food, wine, and social gatherings. Yes, that's how an average French person, even the above average French person, exists if they're not out of town. And even when they're out of town, they leave Paris and they go to the country where the chateaus and the whatever else have out there go. It is all centered around food and wine and social gatherings and more food and more baguette and more wine and dancing and singing and intellectual conversations about politics, about food, about wine and gossip, because the French love gossip as well. The French are a set of people that takes long lunches, very long lunches. They take long walks. They are more pleasure seeking, and mostly they take time to have a meal. The French treat a meal like an important event. It is not to be rushed. It is not to be hurried. And the Olympics is an activity that generates hurried meals. The French are not going to participate in that. It has always failed. Every Olympics that have been held in France have never generated the excitement and the coverage that the Olympics are used to, unless some big name that for really turn it up and then take them a little bit by the TV that they watch. The French are people that are known for creating a work-life balance. They rarely does overtime. They work just as hard as everybody else, but they know when to quit. They exist in a slow tempo that provides balance to their lives. And yes, they are also rated as some of the healthiest people in the world. But, to burst your bubble now, the French will again host the Olympics sometime soon. Yes, they will. They will again host the Olympics. I don't know if it's what we're in now, 2024. Don't know who hosted it 2028. Don't know who hosted it 2032. But I know the French are going to host it again. And the question for us here in Jamaica is, will the attitude of the French change? I doubt that. But the bigger question is, will Jamaica bring it? Will Jamaica be able to bring it? To understand the French culture, to understand what we need to do as a Jamaican team going into a culture, that it is our responsibility to create our own excitement and our own vibes. And that starts with our attitude. That starts with our preparation. And that starts with the preparation of our team members. That starts with preparation of our benches. That starts with how we prepare to enter those places when we go. It's not hard. It's not hard to go to America at the Olympics. Jamaica is not hard because there are enough Jamaicans there to create the excitement for us. It's not hard. It's not hard to go to a South American country either. But it's very hard in Europe, particularly in France. Because the only way an Olympic Games can be rated as a great success, and don't take my word for it, take the words of the commentators who seem to be having a meltdown. The whole of them seem to be having really hard time trying to figure out why Shelley and Fraser pulled out, and they seem to be having a really hard time as to why Jamaica never show up, because too many Jamaica did not show up. And the only way an Olympic game can be rated as a great success is if Jamaica bring it. Will Jamaica be able to bring it? Thank you all for listening to my rant. God bless you all. Stay safe, everybody, and keep the children safe.